Hi everyone, assalamu alaikum. So this is Ahmed Sayed, Dr. Ahmed Sayed. I'm a representative of Ta7 USMLE preparation system. I think that most of you already know us, but for those of you who don't, I'm going to do like a quick background on us. And because I think that today's event is going to be affluent, is going to be rich. So I would like to give the other panelists that all the time that they could get so that you could benefit from what they have to say. So quickly, I would like to thank everybody for joining us today, especially I would like to thank the panelists as well. And if you have a technical problem, if you cannot, because some people are saying that they're having technical problems, you could leave the meeting and then rejoin. I think this will help. So without further ado, like Ta7 USMLE preparation system, we are a preparation system that prepare you for your prepare you for your USMLE steps. We coach USMLE courses, step 1, step 2, online and offline. We have a bunch of other services that you could check them out on our website. That's ta7usmle.com, ta7usmle.com. And you also could communicate with us on our Facebook pages, official Ta7 USMLE preparation system, that's for the courses, and this page, Ta7 US clinical rotations. And you could also directly contact Dr. Ta himself on his personal page, that's Dr. Ta. Just type in facebook.com/Dr. Ta, and you will find his page. So without further ado, like I would like to give the floor to Daniel. Daniel has been a great help to us. I call him Mr. Getting Things Done because he always gets the things done so easily and so smoothly, like anything. So I really appreciate everything that you're doing, brother, and you'll have the floor.
Thank you, Ahmed. And maybe just, I'm going to introduce one of our preceptors in just a moment, but before I do, Ahmed, maybe can you just say where you're at in your journey? Have you taken step 1? Have you taken step 2? And kind of what are your goals?
Right now, I'm in the States. I'm doing research. I was in Egypt. I came to the States. I shifted my journey. I was going for the UK pathway, and I finished my MRCS. But right now, I've like scheduled my whole agenda. So right now I'm in the steps. I haven't taken any of the steps yet, but I've taken the steps of the UK pathway, and I'm doing research right now. And I think that I'm gonna do like my steps. I'm gonna take my steps shortly, and then. We'll go from there. Like I think I will apply to the mention in next couple of years.
Sounds good. Well, I hope the information on today's webinar is very helpful to the entire audience. And you know, our partners, Ta7, Ahmed, it's just been like a family working together. And through Ta7, we're really able to kind of reach all of you in the Middle East, especially in Egypt, Jordan, quite a few other countries that registered today. I will do a full webinar on kind of all about clinical experiences. I'll talk a bit about the residency match and recent changes, a lot of changes happening. But before I do, I'd like to kind of turn it over to one of our preceptors to just say hello and talk a little bit about his background, his program. And later in the webinar, I'll kind of show you how to apply if you want to his program. Dr. Lakowsky, are you able to turn on your video and speak a bit?
Yes, I am turning on the video, but it wouldn't turn on. There we go.
There we go. Oh, great to see you again. It's been a while.
Hi, yeah, great to see you too. Yeah, hi, thank you for having me. Just briefly about myself and the program. My name is Dr. Lakowsky. I am an internist in San Francisco Bay Area with over 16 years of clinical experience. I graduated from SGU School of Medicine, and I did my residency in internal medicine program at the University of Massachusetts. And currently, I am the owner of Premier Medical Care, which is an internal medicine clinic. I'm also a physician advocate as well through my other ventures, Reimbursement RX. I teach business side of medicine to doctors and residents and medical students, but this is my day job and this is what I do. Always seeing patients. I'm in the clinic right now on a pretty busy Friday. So what we do is, we typically see about 20 patients a day, ages 18 and up. This being an internal medicine, we take care of everything from strep throat and back pain to advanced heart failure, COPD, diabetes, and all other chronic medical conditions. And I've been teaching medical professionals for at least 10 years now at all stages of development. I have been teaching pre-med students, medical students, international medical graduates, and even advanced care nurse practitioners. They've all come through us. And no matter what you've done in the past, be this your first or last rotation, I think it's a really good experience where you get to learn something new every day. And as we've seen in the last year, there's so much we don't know. So there's a lot to do. And as long as you're motivated, driven, curious, you'll have a great time here. And on a typical day, we do what we do. We go from room to room and we see patients together. As a visitor, you'll get to be in the room with me, take the patient's history, and discuss diagnosis and treatment plans. The vast majority of students or international medical graduates who have come through these doors have not yet taken all the boards. And what I like to do is teach both practical and clinical applications of a patient's visit and what the boards want you to know. And if you do it with me here, you know, my favorite phrase is to say that we have the boards and we have real life, and those two don't coincide. 2 + 2 will always be 4 on your board exams, but in real medical situation, it could be 3, sometimes could be 5. And what I like to do is point out those differences. That's maximizing your board scores and maximizing your chance of getting to residency. And I know that that's going to be changing. The scoring will change, but still, it's very important to do as well as you can. Now, speaking of residency, as we interact and see patients together, I get to learn about you, you get to learn from me. And usually by the end of the rotation, I'm able to offer you some sort of a letter of good standing recommendation that could potentially help you. So all of that sounds easy, right? Well, all of that, and I mean all of that, kind of went all the way south just about a year ago because of a little virus that we all so painfully familiar with right now. So what changed for us? Well, only everything. So we stopped seeing patients just about a year ago. On March 13th of 2020, the Bay Area was shut down. And on March 19th, 6 days later, we became 100% virtual. We were able to offer telemedicine services for our patients, which we had to do for 2.5 straight months. We were not allowed to see patients in the office until early summer. And then we were able to bring patients back, but only limited numbers, definitely not the full capacity. So what we've been doing is kind of this hybrid model where we see some patients via video, some patients in the office. And it works. It worked well for the patients. We really have not missed a beat. And since we use a fully electronic health record, it's pretty easy to be able to see the patients virtually and also have their electronic record on the next screen over. Now, how does it change for you? How does your experience change here? Well, we introduced a virtual program here, I believe, at the end of summer, beginning of the fall. And so far, it's been pretty good. My last student was from, the doctor was from Ghana. The one before that she was from India. And then it was pretty cool. They were seeing patients in California being halfway around the globe. And as long as you have this, as long as you have your phone, I can have you on your phone here and you can view the screen or the patients as we go in the rooms and I bring you with me. And this way you don't have to miss much. And also, now, does it take anything away from you? Sure. I mean, you don't get to be in the room. You don't get to examine patients. You don't get to do procedures, but you're still able to see everything. You're still able to hear my analysis and expertise, which I think is still helpful. But one thing what I did find is that, let's say we see patients together virtually and you elsewhere, and this is something new, something I haven't heard before. Well, you can quickly look it up. And then you can ask me a very smart question. I'll be like, oh, wow. All right, how did you know that? Maybe I don't know that. But by virtue of you not being here using the internet, certainly it can augment your experience. So all in all, I think it's going to be very advantageous to you. And I'm very happy to announce that this Monday, March 1st, we're going to be fully open to patients because all of our staff have been vaccinated and the cases are low. And we're going to be bringing patients back here. and hopefully we get to 80-20, 80 in the office, maybe 20 online by the end of the year. Now, does it mean that we're opening it to you as far as not being virtual anymore? Not quite yet, because most patients are still a little bit scared about having too many people in the rooms with them, but certainly that changes. We do what the virus tells us, not the other way around, so we're kind of be prepared for that. But all in all, I think that the program here is very advantageous to you. Many visitors who we've had over the past many years have learned so much, and they've all alluded to what a wonderful experience they had.
Wow, you really kind of covered everything that I would have asked you, and want to be mindful of your time. A lot of students ask, they were holding off coming to the US until, this travel resumed and everyone was vaccinated. Well, now it's been a very long time, and many medical students, especially in Egypt and across the world, want to apply for the next match season, and are not sure, should I wait or should I do virtual? I'll just tell you what I've been saying is that kind of online telehealth is being used by more than 80% of doctors in some capacity now in the United States. Medical insurance providers in the US have been kind of encouraging everyone to do their at least first appointment via online telehealth. Do you think that virtual is actually even more than a Band-Aid fix to the COVID situation? It's actually expedited how online telehealth is going to be used in the future, and that medical students would actually have an edge taking part in a virtual rotation and learning how is online telehealth being used in the US. What are your thoughts about that and in the relation to the residency match?
Oh, well, absolutely. Well, how much time do you have? So yeah, virtual medicine is not going anywhere. And, the medicine has been the last industry to embrace 21st century. Across the nation, we've had doctors, well, mainly older doctors, kind of fighting the electronic health record and using technology in their offices. And so medicine has always been behind until a year ago. And then when there was no choice, everything went virtual. And I honestly do not foresee how that is going to change. Now, there's always going to be a need for in-person visit. I'm not saying it's going to go away, but seeing how easy, affordable, and efficient this is, virtual medicine is just not going to go anywhere. It's going to be part of pretty much everybody's practice right now, be that a small practice like ours or a huge conglomerate, huge healthcare system, because there's really no reason not to do that going forward. And as you alluded to, health insurance is now, well, I don't know if they're encouraging it, but they are more open to it right now, and they're certainly covering those services more and more. And as far as for students, should they, or doctors, international graduates, should they wait or not? As we all know, getting to residencies is extremely competitive, and it's getting harder every year. So I don't think there's a need to wait. It's always a good idea to get your experience in now, and getting your applications early. You can always wait later. You can always decide to apply a year later if you want to. But as I mentioned before, there's always so much to learn in medicine. So if you have an opportunity to do something today, hoping that things going to change for the better as far as personal visit in the future, I think it's to your advantage to do things now. Like I said, we don't know what's going to happen with the virus. We don't know how it's going to evolve, what the variant's going to be like, what vaccine's going to cover or not. What we do know is that it's totally and completely safe to do it online. And what I do know is that it does not take away from your overall learning. So I don't think that should be deterrent.
Sounds great. Ahmed, do you have one or two questions left for Dr. Lakowsky before he jumps back off?
Yeah, please. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Lakowsky. And
thank you for having me.
One question we always get from people is that the weight of the recommendation letter that you get from a virtual rotation, is it the same as the recommendation letter that you get from an in-person experience?
Yeah, so the way that the residency programs are looking at these letters, they're looking at the content. If I were to say, well, so-and-so did a virtual rotation with me, never seen a real patient, it was all via Zoom and phone, well, yeah, that letter of recommendation would not be of any value to anyone. But that's not what we say. It's what about what we say. So in letters of recommendation will state that so-and-so has shown enthusiasm, has shown ability to learn, has shown medical expertise. We don't really say that this is a virtual experience because it doesn't really matter. What matters is that what our interaction with the person is. So I cannot imagine anyone writing a letter of recommendation specifically saying, well, this was just a virtual experience and this should not carry as much weight. So no, I don't think it's true at all.
Yeah. And I would add that Dr. Lakowsky is very similar to all our preceptors. I mean, we make sure that everyone we're working with is passionate about teaching and education and wants everyone to succeed. So, those letters, if they're just formal template letters, they're not going to help. But that's not what you'll find from kind of AMO preceptors. Dr. Lakowsky, what would you look for in a visiting student or IMG? What do you want to see from them, at least for your site, for your virtual or in-person rotations?
Yeah, it's just wanting to learn and wanting to explore together. I know it sounds like a cliche, but you can look at a certain condition, 100, 200, 1,000 times, and you're going to find something new. So if a visitor is ready to learn, willing to learn, and is inquisitive, that's all we want. I mean, the last thing we want somebody to sit there, whether virtually or here in person, and just sit there, do nothing, twiddle their thumbs. We don't want that, but nobody's doing that. So everyone we had so far has been great, has been very eager to learn, motivated, and that's what we look for.
Right. Another question, please. Everybody is going crazy about the recent USMLE updates and how program directors are going to evaluate or filter out the applicants. So right now, step one is going pass or fail, and there are no more scores. So what do you think that, how do you think that program directors are going to evaluate people?
Step two. So step one, pass fail, which I personally agree with. Nobody's asking my opinion, but I think all the boards should be pass fail. The score is irrelevant, but it's not irrelevant for program directors, not irrelevant for residency. So what becomes important is your step two. What becomes important is your letters of recommendation. I think that's what program directors will really be looking at. And as I tell everyone who rotates here, even though it's not fair, but the programs, they divide students, incoming graduates, into two categories, US and non-US. And if you're not coming from US medical school, you're just being held to a different criteria and different standard. And it's assumed that you have to have stellar scores, and it's now assumed that you have to have stellar letters of recommendation, or at least an ability to show that you've done some US experience, that you know how the system works. So when you start residency, they don't have to teach you basics that US students have already learned by doing their medical school rotations for 2 years in American hospitals. So this system isn't fair. But what I always talk to visitors about is that, let's not worry about the fairness, but let's see how we can make it better for you and how we're going to get you into residency. And before, it was high score, step one, step two. Well, now we got step two. So we got to maximize your scores, which is why you got to pay attention to what the boards are asking for. And those questions are silly. Let's face it, the board examination, they ask you for things that you're not going to see in real life. It's just how it is. But you need to know it. And this is just the criteria that have been set. And while we cannot debate that, we can do something about it. And, like I said, you only learn with repetition. So, I've probably seen every single question there's going to be on step two, and I know what the answers are. While I'm not giving you the answers, I'm telling what they're going to ask, and I'm explaining various caveats, various pearls that you as a step two taker will need to know to maximize your score. But I think that plus letters is what's going to be very, very important.
And you're referring to step two CK, right? Because
Correct.
step two CS is now
right.
defunct.
Yeah, that's kaput. Yeah.
Okay, great. We'll really appreciate your time, Dr. Lakowsky, and I will get into some of these questions a bit more in a moment. Any final words? I know you have to get back to your practice.
Well, yeah, it's just that I do think that virtual in-person experience is great. I think as an international medical graduate, going forward, it's going to be very tough to get residency without having any kind of US experience. And I know that my practice is just one. There's many across the nation, but you know, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach back. As I mentioned in the very beginning, I'm a physician advocate, and just for many different types of physicians, not just for international medical graduates. And our goal is to help everyone get the best education, best residency, and have a fulfilling professional life. So always happy to answer any questions.
I guess one last thing, you know, a lot of IMGs are always looking for that hands-on ACGME teaching hospital. And, you know, Ryan and I were always kind of talking about, and I will talk later in this webinar, about the benefits of participating in a clinic. Now, especially with you, because you actually help teach medical students and graduates how in the future they could possibly open their own clinic and kind of all the business practices behind running a clinic. You know, how much of healthcare is run in clinics in the United States, and how important is it to understand that system?
Well, how much time do you have? So this is part of my reimbursement RX site that I run. And well, that's extremely important. I don't know if this is for IMGs who haven't done residency yet. They don't really have to worry about it at this point, because, you know, they need to get in first, you know, get the specialties, they graduate, and then worry about it. But yeah, I mean, this is the healthcare in the United States is in shambles because of how expensive it is, how mismanaged it is, and how poorly run it is. Currently, what we have, I believe the numbers now, over 80% of whole healthcare is controlled by large organizations, large hospitals who employ doctors, employ physicians, and I would say exploit doctors and exploit physicians because they're not being treated fairly. Healthcare business is a $3 trillion business, $3 trillion business, out of which mere 7% is going to physicians. The rest is elsewhere. Expensive medications, expensive everything. That said, last year, what it taught us is that, well, it's not always going to be that bad. You know, the government sometimes can intervene, they can step in. And when you give $1 billion to, you know, to a drug company, well, they come up with vaccines very quickly. So that was great. But as far as the overall healthcare delivery and how to set up a business and how to do that, it's very important for doctors to know. Unfortunately, this is not being taught in medical schools. This is not being taught in residencies. So you kind of have to learn on your own, or, you know, we can help you with that as well.
Sounds good. Okay, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you. So before I get started in on the webinar, I'd like to introduce Ryan Flores. He is leading our team of advisors. He will be in the chat, and I encourage both Ahmed and Ryan to post your contact information into the chat for our attendees. Ryan, maybe you can talk a little bit about the advisor's role, and I may kind of introduce you a little bit later on in the webinar as well.
Sure. Thank you, Daniel. And Dr. Lakowsky, thank you so much for joining. I learned so much just from hearing you speak. But my name, everyone, is Ryan Flores. I am a lead advisor here at AMO. I've been with AMO for just over 7 years now, and I've helped a couple thousand medical students and graduates get rotations. We did put together an advisor team, and we are here for you. We're here to answer your questions, to make sure we're available so that you feel confident in the program that you're selecting and that it fits in with your timeline. So we're here to speak with you, through email, through WhatsApp, through phone calls. We want to make sure that you have a voice that's by your side at AMO. So you can always count on us to respond to you in a timely manner, listen to exactly what you're looking for in your rotation, and then guide you to maybe 1, 2, or 3 rotations, or 1 or 2, or how it fits in your timeline, and just being transparent with the programs we offer. So I'm really excited to speak with more of you probably after this presentation. As Daniel mentioned, I will share my contact details. And yeah, thank you, Daniel.
Sounds good. And we don't really. What's that?
Oh, I just want to say really quickly, Ahmad and Dr. Masri, so nice to see you. I know we've talked maybe 5 years ago, and this might be the first time we've seen each other in person.
Yeah, it's nice to see you, man. And I'm looking forward to meeting you in person when this whole situation is over again.
Definitely. Thank you. Sorry, Daniel.
No, I just wanted to post the link again where you can create an account, because it's real important for us to know that you kind of came through this webinar and work with Ta7. And often then, that kind of sparks Ryan and his team to kind of, give you that extra level of service. Although we don't have a sales team, we're not trying to sell you anything. We have an advisor team. We have more than 250 programs every month. And it's really important that you schedule a one-to-one meeting with Ryan or someone from his team, because every one of you is different. When are you going to apply for the residency match? Or maybe you don't want to become a US doctor. You want to become a doctor in Canada or the UK or Egypt, but you need extra research experience or online telehealth experience or neurology clinical experience. Each one of you is different. And so that's why, schedule a meeting with an advisor. I guarantee you, they're not going to be pushy or try to get you into a program. They're going to simply, listen to you, listen to your background, your goals, and then figure out what's right for you. Now, Ryan could add to this, but you can do this all yourself. Our platform is operational where you can apply, reserve yourself. But, again, Ryan, maybe you highlight some of the reasons why it's so important to get on with an advisor before you go through that process. Although you can do that yourself. Let me say that as a caveat.
Yeah, no, definitely. Thank you, Daniel. I think you said it perfectly. Everyone learns differently. Everyone has different goals, but ultimately everyone here probably has the same dream, which is to benefit your medical education. And whether that is to become a doctor in the US, to maybe take skills that aren't available to you immediately and bring them back home, speaking with an advisor, we're able to kind of put that into our perspective to guide you, and then to look through the 200 different options that we offer and say, hey, here's 2 or 3 that fit with what you need. And that allows us to start the conversation, having the visitor look through the different options, maybe say, oh, this isn't perfect for me, or I need more help with step 2. And in those cases, sorry about that. In those cases, speaking with an advisor, it really just helps us look through different reviews, maybe put you in touch with some of our ambassadors, some past visitors, maybe from your home country or from your university, just to help you, feel confident and, gain that trust. As Daniel said, we're not going to push you to, buy a product immediately. We want to make sure that the program, the rotation that you select is going to fit your needs. And, we want to make sure it meets your expectations. So speaking with an advisor it just allows us to build that trust. It doesn't have to be a 30, 40-minute call. We can get a lot accomplished within 5-10 minutes and then continue to follow up.
So I'm mindful of everyone's time here, but we definitely wanted to hear from Dr. Lakowsky. He's one of our top sites that people go to, and he loves teaching. And it's just a great example of kind of the AMO preceptors. We only work with sites that are either associate professors, residency directors, or have some connection to education. And in that sense, when you get that letter of recommendation, it is going to be personalized with an AMO preceptor. And so that's something that you can be sure of. The process is extremely, what can I say, very difficult for our contracting process. So we have more than 250 clinical experience on our platform. Each one of them took anywhere from 1 month to 2 years to contract with, onboard, get them onto our platform. So I know there were a lot of questions that came in before the webinar. One of them was around kind of why are your programs so expensive? So I'm going to answer that question right now, and then I'm going to go into the webinar. I hope you can all stay with us throughout it. I will give you lots more good information. So as far as the cost, I'm not sure if anyone is aware, but medical education in the US is approximately $450,000 to complete. So for a graduate of medical school in the United States, they generally have debt. They take out loans to complete this, anywhere from $300,000 to $400,000 of loans. I think the average is around $270,000 in loans by the time they graduate. And this is why many doctors, US graduates, specialize. So they go into kind of dermatology, plastic surgery. That's why those type of fields are more difficult to match as a international medical graduate. That does not mean you can't match, and I'll get into more of that in the webinar in a moment, because there are IMGs that match into those specialties. But of that $450,000 that they're paying for their medical education, somewhere around 40, 50%, 60% of that is going to the clinical sites for their clinical education. So this is very expensive. What AMO does is we go on behalf of Ta7 and our other partners, we negotiate prices with these sites. But remember, we're competing against US medical schools. So the prices are still very expensive, but I can assure you that many of the prices on our website, on our platform, are actually lower than what medical students are paying through their tuition. There is also all the costs of, you know, our platform, our services, ensuring you get your letter of recommendation. There is so much surety of outcomes when you come through Ta7 and AMO that, you know, that's kind of where the costs are. But us as an organization, we are not making money off of that fee. Those fees are going directly to the clinical site, with a little bit coming back to our organizations for the advisor services, our coaching services, and maintaining relationships with our hospitals. One more thing to add to that, throughout the pandemic, almost every clinical site, including ACGME teaching hospitals, even the exchange programs across Europe, they canceled. They were put on complete hold, and medical students around the globe were not able to get clinical experiences. Definitely not in person, and not many virtual available. Meanwhile, AMOpportunities, we never canceled. We lowered the number of programs as various cities in the United States had large COVID populations. We simply put on hold the programs in those cities. But we always had more than 200 programs open every month. And the way that we are able to do this is we take the administrative burden off of you, the medical student, the medical schools we work with, and all of our clinical sites. All your documents are uploaded through one platform. We verify those documents. We help you to collect those documents. And then we pass them to the hospital in one packet. The hospital sees where you're scheduled, where you're coming, and we do all the support. Now, if you're coming in person, you're going to need a visa, housing, flights. We do all that. Clinical sites do not do that. They don't have programs for that, right? So this is kind of how we've been able to maintain our clinical sites open and launch 42 virtual programs, which I'll talk to in a moment. Ryan, Ahmed, would you like to say anything before I kind of start in on the PowerPoint?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm just trying to, because some people cannot rejoin, so I'm just trying to work on this. So you keep going.
No problem, no problem. And they can always re-register. I posted the link in the chat. So we started exactly 8 years ago to help international medical students and graduates to get US clinical experiences to enter the workforce. Now, in order to enter the medical workforce in any country, you need your clinical experiences, be that in person, virtual, hands-on, observerships, research. It really doesn't matter, and it's different for every country, but you must have clinical experience in the country you're going to work for. Be that Egypt, the UK, Canada, the US. Now for the US, it's pretty clear. You need a minimum of 2 letters of recommendations. You can have more, up to 4 can be uploaded. But generally medical students, graduates, IMGs that are applying for the US residency match have kind of a minimum of 3 months. And most of them have more 4, 5, 6 months of US clinical experience. And the reason why that's been growing is, again, because of the cancellation of Step 2 CS, Step 1 moving to pass-fail. As you heard from Dr. Lakowsky, residency directors just want to see more US clinical experience, more letters of recommendation, and our services and platform allow clinical sites to offer these. And we ensure that all the providers are equally as friendly as Dr. Lakowsky. They're non-discriminatory. They accept visitors from all over the world. They're friendly, they're educational, and they want you to succeed. They want you to meet your goals. So that's really what we look for when we onboard our physicians to our platform. Now, of course, you know the benefits of away clinical experiences, And I could add the virtual programs as well. But suffice to say, we encourage all US medical students to go abroad at least once or participate in an online program in another country, just as we would expect all medical students across the world. It's very important you experience the healthcare system in another country, whether or not you want to apply for that particular residency match. Now, with our programs on the AMO platform, of course, all of them, you're going to practice your medical English and learn new terminology. But on the platform, in the description, it'll list the patient population. What language do they speak? That is not the program. The program is always in English with the doctor, your differential diagnoses, giving active case presentations. That's all in English. But the patient population may vary, which is great for you because there are 350 language groups in the United States, which represents the most diverse patient population. And how you do your diagnoses might change depending on the patient population and history. So it's really important to get exposure to all these different patient populations. Of course, you're going to earn your letters of recommendation. And we do work with medical schools across the globe, a few in Egypt, Jordan, really every country, to make sure that these programs, you can obtain elective credit. So if you do want to participate and you would like to swap out one of your elective rotations in your home country, just connect with Ryan and his team, and we will make sure that any curriculum requirements are met. Now, hands-on observerships, and let's just add virtual to that. A lot of misconceptions out there. A lot of medical students say, okay, maybe I'm in Egypt, I'm going to wait till I graduate. Then I'm going to come to the United States for 3 or 6 months and do all my rotations in a row. And I want them all to be hands-on at ACGME teaching hospitals. That is actually not really a good plan. So, I can't say what the best plan is because it's very different for every single one of you. But suffice to say, you need to have a good view of the American health system to apply for residency. That includes rural, urban, ACGME teaching hospitals, clinics, and online telehealth, and how is virtual being used. So kind of looking at it from different angles. You don't want all your eggs in one basket. Also, to add to that, you really want to have multiple specialties. So say you want to focus on plastic surgery, you should have some internal medicine rotations, for example. So all of these things are things you can speak to an advisor about, but just a general overview. Medical students in their first year and second year would participate in observerships. That would be for virtual or in person. Medical students in their clinical years, years 3, 4, 5, would participate in hands-on rotations. Again, that is for virtual and in person. You do not need USMLE exams. You don't need any exams to enter those. All you need is a letter from your school stating that you are a current medical student in your clinical years in year 3, 4, 5 in good standing. And again, if you schedule a meeting with Ryan, he can kind of talk more about that letter. Now, if you graduate, most graduates do participate in observerships. Again, there's no difference in terms of the letter you are receiving, but there are hands-on rotations for graduates if you have taken and passed USMLE Step 1. Before I continue, Ryan, would you like to add anything about that process?
Sorry, Daniel, can you repeat the question one more time?
Yeah, so just wanted to know if you want to add anything about kind of for graduates getting into hands-on, because I know, and I've already said that it really doesn't matter in terms of the residency match. Most graduates do observerships, and that's fine, and that'll get you the letters of recommendation you need. But a lot of graduates say, I really want the hands-on, so can you talk a little bit about for graduates? We know that for medical students, if you're a current medical student in your clinical years, that's the only requirement. We don't need exams. We don't need anything. There are plenty of hands-on rotations, more than 200 that you can reserve on the AMO platform for medical students in their clinical years. My question to you is specifically for graduate medical students, IMGs.
Sure. No, thank you for helping with that. So for graduates, one of the best ways to get hands-on in the U.S. through AMO is going to be making sure that you have the USMLE completed and that you have your scores returned. So we are able to offer medical graduates hands-on experiences as long as we have your USMLE score report. And at that point, we will be able to support your B visa. We support a B2 visa for medical graduates who do have the USMLE completed. So that is one way that you can, that you can get a hands-on rotation for us. Now, what I will also mention, for graduates who maybe haven't taken the USMLE yet and are planning to do so, speaking with an advisor as early as possible about your timeline, about your planning, that's what we're here to help with. If you're planning to take the USMLE in June, we can help kind of plan out the next couple months, knowing, okay, it takes a couple weeks to get your scores back. Once you have your scores back, let's make sure that we can get you into a program that is suitable for you, that's suitable for your education, and then we can start kind of planning out the timeline of getting the other documents in, getting the application submitted, getting you reserved, and then moving forward. And in between that time, of course, is applying for the visa. And as long as you have that USMLE report, that's something we can help you with. And just knowing that you would need a visa, that can take time. So, I know we're in this interesting time with COVID and travel restrictions. So it's always better to, plan sooner than later. And as Daniel mentioned, always feeling confident, being able to schedule a call with your advisor, with myself, just so we can talk you through it and kind of just make sure we're transparent and realistic with making sure we get you what you need.
Thank you so much, Ryan. And I'd like to add that this webinar is being recorded. After the webinar, I will send you the recording. There were more than 500 medical students in Middle East that registered. I know a lot of you have had difficulty joining or your internet connection. Don't worry about it. Join when you can. But I will be sending a complete summary with links to all the information we're talking about today. And so you will receive that later on tonight in your time zone. With that said, I do see more and more people joining as we continue. I just want to get into virtual a bit because I know there's a lot of misconceptions out there. Now, at the beginning of the pandemic, right around kind of February, March last year, AMO launched virtual clinical rotations. We quickly became the largest provider of virtual clinical experiences in the world. We now have more than 40 programs available on our platform. And when we first launched them, it maybe was thought of as a kind of a Band-Aid fix to the fact that medical students couldn't travel. US medical students couldn't go into the hospital. So how is everyone going to get the clinical experience to apply for the residency match? Now we've been running these programs for over a year. We've had hundreds of medical students from the United States and around the world enrolling in programs through the AMO platform. Medical students have been using the LORs for the residency match. Residency directors have personally told me that they see no difference, and actually they're encouraging medical students to take virtual programs. As you saw from Dr. Lakowsky, this is the future. This is not going away. If you have no experience in the United States with how online telehealth is being used, you are going to be at a disadvantage. So these programs are no longer a Band-Aid fix. They are not going to go away even after the pandemic. And it is highly encouraged that you take at least one online telehealth virtual clinical experience. Now, we do have many types of virtual programs, including research, advanced studies, more theory-based, but especially in regards to the patient interaction, actually hands-on online telehealth virtual clinical experiences. You do need malpractice insurance. You are essentially going into the hospital or clinic and meeting with patients. It's just virtual. You're able to do it from your home country. So you would need malpractice insurance. It's no different than if you're there. And actually, I spoke to a friend of mine who's the residency director at Harvard, and he said that he actually prefers medical students coming on the virtual platform because you can't hide. He really gets to know you as a person. He's asking you questions and you have to respond. You have to give your differential diagnoses. You have to kind of look at any diagnostic test that's uploaded and make your kind of analysis. So he really gets to know your clinical skills and what skills you need to learn. And then he assigns a lot of homework that you need to prepare for the next day. So for what he said about surgeries is that instead of you standing in the ER and kind of looking at the surgery from one perspective, physically in the hospital, it's recorded so that he can change the view and look at the surgery from different views and ask different questions, and you can ask questions. And he feels that the learning is just fantastic. And he's really able to, refer the students he like to different residency spots, or, provide a great letter of recommendation for everyone else. So that is just one residency director that I've spoken to. I've spoken to a few, and they really highly encourage these programs. So, I know there's been some misconceptions, and I know a lot of you are kind of waiting to come in person, and in person is always been the only thing available. But I promise you that these programs are not going anywhere, and that although I do also encourage you to come in person in the future, I also highly encourage you to participate in at least 1 month of the virtual, especially through online telehealth, so that you can see just one more angle of how healthcare is practiced in the United States. I do have lots of videos from our preceptors around the virtual programs. I'm not going to play them now just because we're a little bit over on time already, although we're just continue this webinar and I see lots of questions coming in, but I will send you links to those videos. Now, we are the largest clinical marketplace in the world, but the process is just simple and transparent. We are institutionally funded by groups like University of Chicago. So it's really just creating access to these programs. Some of the questions were around the programs are expensive, but I assure you they are a lot cheaper in some cases than US medical students are paying. And we're always working to lower our costs. Sometimes we do discounts or price drops, so you can always ask an advisor about those. But remember, you're investing in your future. So, if you do, let's say a program is $3,000 a month and you do 3 months, that's $9,000. But what you're getting out of it is 10 times that. Remember, residency in the US pays right around $70,000 a year. And as soon as you complete that, the minimum physician salary is right around $170,000 a year. And your medical education in your home country is a lot cheaper than a US medical student. So that means you're going to have more options to apply for residency or become a physician in specialties that US students aren't going into, like internal medicine, pediatrics, family medicine. That's where the US really needs physicians. So let me just take you onto a platform, and then I have a few more slides, and then I'm going to open it up for all your questions.
And everyone, while Daniel pulls that up, please continue to ask questions in the chat. There's some really good ones coming through. So I'll be monitoring the chat and the Q&A. So please don't hesitate.
Great. And if Ryan, if there's any question you can address right away, just start typing the answer. And then when I finish, feel free to kind of Ahmed and Ryan ask questions that have come in, so to save time. So once you've created an account through Ta7, so here was the, you get logged in, right? Go to the profile section, complete your profile right away. That's very important. And go to your email and click the link to confirm. The next step before you do anything, upload your CV or your resume to the document section. That's all we need, is that one document, although I would suggest uploading your passport too. If you have confirmed your email, completed your profile, uploaded your resume and your passport, most likely that we can approve your applications within 24 hours. If we don't have a completed profile, no resume, and no passport, we may not be able to approve any of your applications. So that's really important. Now, once you go to the search, you can search yourself, complete applications yourself. But again, I do urge you to schedule a meeting with an advisor. You can search by medical specialty, states, cities, or tags. Those of you that are concerned with the price, you can look under price drop or value programs. Right now, I just want to take you onto virtual because that is what we're getting a lot of questions on right now. So for kind of the virtual, as you can see, some programs only have one spot available each month. Our busiest time is kind of summer and fall. So as Ryan said, if you want to come, create your applications now. It's free to create applications. Let me just go ahead and click on endocrinology at the University of Miami, not currently taking any in-person rotations. So if I select the type, it's only virtual, although still highly encouraged. If I go to the start date, they only have April left open to reserve. Some programs have every month, but some months are gone. So let me just show you another example. So if I click the start date and I click apply now, that will create the application, and then Ryan or his team will contact you. Now, if I go back to the search, let's just pick another program. Under virtual, let me actually pick, if I can find, I believe this is Dr. Lakowsky's program. And he was on earlier. If you joined the webinar late, you can watch the recording. We did have the doctor of this particular program on. Now, if you select the start date, it's Observership. I believe he said we do have virtual there as well. Ryan, did you see that? I don't see that virtual is an option here under Lakowsky's program.
No, I think, Daniel, we might have it listed as its separate option. Let me just double check for you.
Okay. But this program does have a virtual option as well. Now for Observership, he is only open from May. But if you wanted to do the virtual program right now, you can start possibly even March. Now I know today is February 26th. So if you want to start a virtual program for March, schedule a meeting with Ryan immediately because it will be very difficult to get you in, but it is possible. For in-person programs, it looks like he's starting to take people from May. Now, if somebody reserves May, that will go down to one seat available. So this operates in real time.
And Daniel, I was going to say we do have the virtual program. I will copy a link to that in the chat if you prefer.
No, that's okay. Anyone can search under virtual and search all the programs. Dr. Lakowsky's there just like everyone else. So just a few more slides and then I'll wrap it up and take questions from the audience. So to complete enrollment is going to take lots of kind of documents, but all you need is your resume to get started. And we've brought hundreds of medical students from Egypt, hundreds from Jordan, Saudi Arabia, and really every country in the world. So don't be worried about this process. We will help you with all these, collecting each document. And if you can't get one document, we'll help you to get a substitute document. So really don't worry about that. Just upload your resume to start. We already talked about Ryan and his team's role. Once you reserve, you will be assigned a coach. That coach will be there kind of for the rest of your life. Sometimes we have past visitors from 3 years ago, 5 years ago, that contact their coach and say, hey, can I get another copy of my letter of recommendation? So the clinical experience for the US residency match, it must be within the last 2 years, not the clinical experience, but the letter. So lots of times somebody does their clinical experience, but doesn't apply for the US residency match for maybe 5 years later. That's fine. You already have your US clinical experience, but you do need an updated letter written within the last 2 years. So you can contact the coach and we can get an updated letter. I actually just had a friend that matched in the Mayo Clinic for plastic surgery. He was an IMG from Taiwan, and a lot of his clinical experience was well more than 3 years old, but he got those updated letters, applied, and was able to secure residency. Now, about 27% of physicians in the US are foreign trained. We do need more doctors in the US. There's a clear pathway for that. There are a lot of changes and that can make you nervous, but suffice to say, with the support of Ta7, the support of AMO, we can, surely set you on the right path to that process. Now, we do ask for reviews on our programs. All of our programs generally get 4- and 5-star reviews, and we have kind of past visitors from all over the world. I will post links to some of the blogs from our past visitors. It's always great to read them and kind of learn more about their story. Now, last year, the residency match, we had the highest match rate of non-US IMGs in the last 30 years at 61.1%. Now, the highest percentage were kind of in family medicine, internal medicine, pediatrics. So those definitely have the highest match rates, but that doesn't mean you can't match in other specialties. What can you do right now? Right now, you can participate in virtual online telehealth clinical experiences, virtual research programs, volunteer with AMSA, IFMSA, and other student associations or medical groups, volunteer at your local hospital. All these things help when you're going to your residency interviews. There might not be an exact section on the application for your volunteer experience in Egypt, but it is going to help. They are looking for dedicated professionals to that particular specialty. So the more you can enhance your application, the better. Get the highest scores you can in medical school right now. Step 1 is moving to pass-fail. Step 2, CS is canceled. That places the highest importance ever on number 1, your US clinical experience, getting more months. So instead of just 2 months, maybe having 4 to 6 months, getting great letters of recommendation from that. One way to do that, of course, is with AMO. We make sure that all of our preceptors will write that personalized letter of recommendation. And your step 2 CK scores. There is also a test called OET, Occupational English Test. I urge you to look for this. In my summary email, I am going to post a link to the ECFMG, the 6 pathways that they were 5, but last week they updated it to 6 to give you more information on everything I just talked about. I really thank you all for either watching this recording if you weren't able to attend live, or if you joined late to the webinar. I apologize, but happy to have you here live. Again, I will send a summary webinar. I am not ending the presentation right now at all. I am just simply going to transition to the Q&A section. Before I do that, again, I would like to thank Dr. Masari and Dr. Ahmed, both of you, for kind of being our long-term partners in the Middle East. All the help you've done for all the medical students. There are always so many questions, and the information you post on, especially your Facebook page, is very engaging and answers a lot of their questions. With that said, I'm going to turn it over to both of you to kind of start addressing questions, and then I'll come back on and address some questions myself.
Thank you, Daniel, for this terrific presentation as always, and thank you as always for all your help. I would like to start with, guys, the OET exam. We are offering this like as part of Ta7 USMLE preparation system right now. It's if you need to take or know more about the OET exam, or like if you need preparation or help with this, you can contact us through our channels, or you can contact Dr. Masri himself, and he will give you the resources, and we'll take it from there. So that's regarding the OET. We've received a lot of questions, and we continue to receive questions here in the chat box, and we're gonna start by answering them. So I see that there is a question: is hijab a problem as a female medical graduate? I would like to answer with that, and then I think that Daniel and Ryan will hop into it. No, it's not a problem at all. There are many hijabis doctors in the US, and it's not a problem at all. And you can see this for yourself, even if you come here as to do like a rotation or something. So it's not a problem. Just don't. It wasn't even a problem during Trump's time, so it's not a problem. Just
So
okay.
So Yeah, and I'll talk more about that in a moment, but I have another guest for you all. He was in exams, and so I'd like to introduce him. Rad was a past visitor. He's completed multiple rotations. He's from Jordan, studied medicine in Saudi Arabia. One of, I would like to say, my good friends. Rad, I really appreciate you joining. I know you just got out of your exam. Could you talk a little bit to the audience to hear from somebody who's kind of completed rotations with AMO? How has it helped you? And what are your goals? And then, feel free to post your Instagram handle in the chat to get some direct questions as well. I know you're going through the residency match process. Rad, I will make it so that you're a co-host and that you can turn on your video and talk. Rad?
Alrighty. Hey guys, how are you doing? Thanks, Dan, for the amazing introduction. Hey, Ryan and Ahmed. Marhaba jami'an in Arabic. So really, I'm a last year medical student, basically an intern. The thing I like to tell everyone who's applying on AMO is to apply as an undergraduate, even if you were like an intern, like heads up on that. So yeah, basically I've done 2 rotations with AMO. They were the best rotations of my internship. It helped me in many ways. It helped me, know better the rotations I'm interested in, which were dermatology and family medicine, and like have an unearth better experience. I would also like to tell that don't really overwhelm yourself about what is going to be like your rotation is going to be over there, all right? Because it's like very multicultural, as I've seen like some questions about being a hijabi and stuff. I actually had one of my colleagues at the office. She was a hijabi and she was doing research purposes, and she was very welcomed and respected between us as a team. So it's pretty much friendly over there. They respect your culture. They really want to get to know you. And the attendings, all of them were so friendly. They even have given me access to a lot of stuff I didn't know that I can be a part of. For example, like going to a hospital and actually meet my attendings' friends and get to know them better and build my personal connections with them. So that actually made me know more residents at the hospital and make me know better about the residency programs that I actually can include myself with. And I'm actually still in contact with them. So besides that, regarding the LORs and stuff around that, so it's totally your responsibility to actually make sure that you're doing things right. So a piece of advice you guys can take from me, like as I've experienced, is that like halfway through your rotations, for example, it's a 4 weeks rotation, right? So when you're like done with the first 2 weeks, just like stop and by your attending's office and just ask them if you're doing everything the way they want you to do, in order to just like guarantee that you're having an LOR. Because I've been receiving a lot of questions about, like how many LORs I can get through one rotation and, whatnot. So it's basically your responsibility actually to do your best and make sure that, you're doing things rightly. So my plan for the future in residency programs is that, to get involved into a family medicine, hopefully rotation, or maybe a dermatology rotation. I know it's hard, but nothing is impossible, The attending I've been rounding with was actually a program director, and, that can open doors for you. So you be smart in your choices, and, I wish you all the best. And you can actually ask me more questions as much as you want on my Instagram account. I'll actually include it on the chat box now. It's over there. So you can feel free, guys, to like contact me on whatever you feel like, asking about.
Rad, if you could keep your video on, keep your sound on, Ryan as well, if you have a chance. And as questions come in, anyone feel free to answer. Two questions here. Some say that because your contracts are with physician-based, not hospital-based, so will the LORs not be on hospital letterhead? And does that mean it's weak or not very strong or recognized? That is completely kind of incorrect and false. And so I can let Rad talk a little bit about that, but let me just show you on the platform. So as you go to the search fields, first of all of our programs will result in a letter of recommendation. Now that is merit-based. You have to put in your heart to it, but we will guide you on how to ask for that letter. And I would say nearly 100% of everyone that attends through AMO gets their personalized letter of recommendation. All of those letters are accepted by, that you can upload for the residency match, all of them, whether they are private practice, clinics, or teaching hospitals. Again, when we contract with sites, we make sure that these are educational programs. Now, we do have programs that state we will write the letter on university or hospital letterhead. That is under tags. So you just go to LOR, hospital or university letterhead. Now, other programs, they may also write on a hospital or letterhead of the university or clinic or hospital, but it's not guaranteed. These are programs that have told us we will write the letter of recommendation on university or hospital letterhead if you search by that tag. But a lot of our other sites will as well. They just haven't guaranteed it. And then, let me just address the next question, and then Ryan, if you want to add anything to that. So the other question was, if program directors knew that the rotations were through a third party, like a private company, do you think it's fishy to get paid to get accepted? This is a complete misunderstanding of everything. So the rotations are not through a third party. Clinical sites in the US, the majority of them simply could never host you. They don't have visa support, housing support. They don't have an administrator to process your documents. Many of the programs, 200 programs on our site, simply wouldn't host you without being through AMO. So the rotations themselves are with the clinical sites. They're not with AMO. Your letter of recommendation is through the clinical site, not with AMO. So this is not fishy at all. And you're not paying for anything that you wouldn't do anyways. Clinical education is very expensive in the United States. So, US students are paying for this same clinical education actually at more expensive than the prices on our platform. Ryan, would you like to add anything to kind of either of those two answers?
Yeah, so speaking of the LORs, actually my attending was a program director. Luckily, he happens to be a program director at the Hospital for Dermatology. So I actually made it clear, like he was asking me, what do you expect? What are you expecting from this rotation? So I made it clear and frank that in the beginning that what am I supposed, what are you expecting from me as a trainee in order to guarantee an LOR? He was like, well, you just follow what I tell you to do and show me progress. So I made sure that I was doing what I was asked to do. And I made sure that I was showing progress. And that, for example, half week my rotation, I asked I'm just making sure that he's happy with what I'm doing. And on my second rotation, my physician was an attending who was actually at the Florida Atlantis University, FAU. So he also has given me an LOR. And there was another attending who was an physician who used to come and pass by every Fridays. We even got an LOR from that physician because he was actually giving us lessons and like virtual cases or so and asked questions, and he got to know us even more like throughout our rotation. So he was happy with us, and he was like, if you guys want like any LORs, I can afford that, and I would be happy to contact anyone who would like to ask me about you guys. So it's just like anyone who can like just give you an LOR and just not know really how you really are, because they will be asked about you and when you apply for a residency program. So yeah.
Yeah, and all of our programs are for 4 weeks. That doesn't
I have something I want to add regarding this question about like paying for a rotation, because that's one of the main misconceptions that we guys have here in our region. Basically, for any rotation you're going to do, you're going to pay money. For anything that you're going to do, you're going to pay money. If you're applying for a rotation at Harvard or Cleveland or Johns Hopkins or anything through their websites, you're going to pay money. So it's not like you're paying to get accepted. That's not that. Like there is an admission process. There is a whole other things that you pay for. So you're not like bribing the doctor to come and rotate with them. It would be fishy, however, if you don't do the rotation with the doctor and they're giving you like a recommendation letter without meeting you, without
Exactly.
working with you. But
Exactly.
basically, you're gonna pay for anything that you're gonna do. Like in the U.S., everything is privatized mostly, so you're gonna pay for anything, and that's why Daniel was saying that medical students here in the U.S. they pay even for their medical graduation. They pay to learn medicine, right? It's not the case in most of our countries, but they pay for that. So it's not fishy at all. That's a common misconception that we guys have. And the only way that you're not going to pay, I think, anything is that if you know, like on a personal level, if you know the doctor and he's offering you to come and rotate with him on a personal level, right? But you're going to take care of your visa, you're going to take care of your accommodation, you're going to take care of your tickets and everything else, right? But you're not paying, maybe, yes, you're not paying a tuition fees. Yes, of course, because there is no tuition here because it's like you're rotating with them in their private practice. But other than that, you're going to pay for anything that you do. And that's not fishy at all, as I said. Also regarding okay, go ahead.
To add to that, yeah. And, you know, applying directly on the websites, this is an interesting point. So it's one thing if you have an uncle that's a doctor in California and he says, come on over, you know, but then again, that's only one clinical site unless your uncle has 5 friends, because you need different kinds of experience. You can't just have that one clinic, right? But as far as applying to websites directly, that was almost completely canceled around February last year and has not resumed. So you can apply for, you know, 100 different hospitals in the US. They're not quite processing those applications yet because of COVID, the majority of them. Some of them are starting to, but even the ones that process, they only offer so many spots for people that apply directly to them.
And not throughout the whole year. Like
yeah,
you have
through the whole year. There's only a few spots.
Few spots, few specialties, and you cannot like come except if you're accepted. And let me tell you this, guys, if the more prestigious the rotation that you're applying for, the higher the competition. You have to know this, right? So if the cost is lower, like for example, let's take Cleveland. The tuition fees for a rotation is like, that's the application fees. It's like $400, right? If you're applying for a rotation at Cleveland, you need to have a step 1, and you're going through a very competitive selection process, right? So it's not guaranteed, and you can only apply during a very, like, you have to apply 1 year ahead at least. And it's, right now, it's not happening even during COVID times. But you have to pre-apply like 1 year ahead, and your application fees are not guaranteed, right? It's part of an application process. So you're not guaranteed a place, and you have to be very competitive because they offer very limited amount of rotations, and not everybody that applies is gonna get it. So they get like thousands of applications and they only have like dozens of spots, right? So it's pretty competitive. So unlike AMO, you have to be competitive in your CV. And if you can do that, then go ahead and do it. Like when people ask me all this time, like, can we apply on our own? I would encourage them, go on and do it. If you can get anything like cheaper for you, then well and done, good for you. If you could get any better rotation, good for you. But the thing is, if you really try this route, you would know what we're talking about.
Yeah, and it's important to mention that, you know, the AMO platform is just one application process. When you upload all your documents there, you can create applications for free. You know, sometimes when you apply directly, you have to pay an application fee for each hospital you apply to, depending on which ones you're applying to. And then it's also a long process. Those applications are not easy, and they're different for every single clinical site you're applying to. So it's going to take you a lot of your time to do those applications. So maybe the program's 400 versus our program, maybe 2,000, but it's definitely going to take $1,600 of your time to kind of get through all that process to kind of get accepted as well. So it's just trying to make it easier for you and give you more options. I also encourage you to apply directly if you have the option.
And Daniel, thanks, Ahmed and Daniel, for the valuable information. Because actually, I want to add on this point. This was the very point why I actually chose to go and do my U.S. clinical experiences with AMO. It's because of time. So it's like time versus, I don't know, money, time versus what rotations are being offered, or time versus the whole process. Literally, I was like on Instagram, like scrolling through Instagram and just like going down, and then I saw this advertisement about AMO, and they were like, you can be there in no time. I was like, is this for real? And I just happened to create an account, choose my rotations. I paid for the application. I've got an advisor, and in no time, literally like only 1 month, everything was settled. I paid for everything, and I was like right there in America, enjoying my rotation and being introduced to my team and everything. It was super smooth. It was super supportive. I had my back covered like the whole time. And, especially in my time, COVID happened. So my second rotation got canceled from that institution. And I was happy to have my coach at the time, because he changed my rotation from one institution to another and guaranteed that I would never lose any like clinical experience. Unlike many of my other friends who were all on their own, they got stuck there. They didn't have the chance to have another rotation. It was such a hassle for them. So really, it's about having, like your family in the US, especially if it was like your very first time, like myself. It was really such a thing that I was so happy about having my back covered by AMO. And I was there in no time. Again, I'm stressing this. And I had the support in my visa application and everything. So yeah, that's really a thumbs up.
It's a great point too, because
I think we've killed this question. So I want to answer another question, which was like Dr. Lakowsky answered it briefly, which is the weight of the recommendation letter. And if it's not on a hospital letterhead, it's weak, basically, okay? First of all, again, that's a misconception, because the recommendation letter doesn't state that. But if it's on a hospital letterhead, especially if this is a prestigious hospital, yes, of course, this would be better. But the thing is, do not think of this as binary. Like it's either hospital letterhead or you're applying for your residency match without recommendation letters. If you could get a hospital letterhead recommendation letter, then well and done, but for you. If you cannot, that doesn't discredit all the other recommendation letters. Actually, I would say that most of the majority of the applicants, they don't have hospital letterhead recommendation letters, and they still count. So do not think of this in terms of it's either this or that. Like if it's not hospital letterhead, if it's not hospital paste recommendation letter, it's not going to count. That's not true at all. If you want to add anything, Daniel.
No, I totally agree with you. So I have nothing to add to that. And I think, we received a lot of questions that you kind of compiled for us prior to this presentation. I think we've actually answered a lot of them. Yeah. There were a couple around pricing. We've already talked about pricing a lot and how that's determined. But one question was kind of, are there any discounts for groups, and do you offer any kind of scholarship? So let me just mention about the word scholarship, and then I'm going to turn it over actually to Ryan about kind of how discounts work and groups work, and any other questions Ryan wants to address. Now, scholarships, the word scholarship generally comes from either a government entity or your medical school. So, for example, if I want to study in English, I would get a scholarship from the U.S. government, or from my school would provide a scholarship. What we do is discounts. We do offer discounts, and Ryan can talk a bit about that. As far as scholarships, I do work directly with the, for example, the Saudi Arabian government. They offer SACM, it's called Saudi Arabian Cultural Mission Scholarships. They pay for students to participate in our program. You must be a Saudi citizen. That's just one example. I do that with governments all over the world, work with their Ministry of Health and set up scholarships. I don't currently have any in Egypt, but there are some in other countries, depending on the country you're from.
We don't have a scholarship. We don't have scholarships in Egypt.
Okay, so Egypt doesn't have scholarships, but there are sometimes private scholarships. Even in Egypt, I've heard of, private scholarships for scholars, and even in the United States, there are private, very wealthy people that support education. So,
I don't think they're going to support you if you're doing a rotation. If you're doing something else, like a research project or something, you might get, you can apply, of course, but I'm just saying that I don't think that you will get the scholarship for just like 1 or 2 months of rotations. I don't think so. Another question people asked about, like, how many recommendation letters can you get per 1 month or per 1 rotation?
Oh, right. I wanted to address that. Do you want to say something first?
Yeah. We get this question all the time. And again, there is a misconception here, guys. You have to understand how are you going, like, how the process works. How do you get a recommendation letter? You get a recommendation letter, again, as I said previously, by working with a doctor, right? So you have to work with them to get a recommendation letter. In most cases, it so happens that you rotate with one doctor for like 1 rotation. For 1 month, you rotate with 1 doctor. But if you can, like, if you're a superhuman being and you can rotate with 3 different doctors at the same time, then of course you could ask each one of them to get a recommendation letter, and they will give it to you. The thing is,
and that's what I was talking about, Ahmed. If I may just interrupt you for a sec here.
Yeah, go ahead.
In my second rotation, I actually worked with 2 attendings. So the first attending was like there for the whole time, but the second one was like there only on Fridays. He used to like swing by and give us some virtual cases and stuff. So he got to know us very well, and he was really happy from us. It was like all 3 of us, me and 2 other medical students. We asked him for a second letter of recommendation, and he was more than happy to give it to us. So it's like you're saying.
I got 3 recommendation letters myself in 1 month. But how was that? I was rotating with like 2 doctors during the OR times, and I was rotating in their clinics with 2 different doctors. So I could even like ask for more, but you can if you rotate in a hospital with an attending, and there is a resident, you could ask the resident also to get you a recommendation letter. But let me tell you that it's not gonna like hold the same weight as the recommendation letter from it's not the same. Mm-hmm. But maybe by the time that you apply for the match, this resident becomes an attending. So
hopefully, fingers crossed.
The thing is, at least you should get 1 recommendation letter, unless you punch out like the physician or one of the patients. That's the only way that you're not gonna get the recommendation letter.
Exactly. Yeah.
But
if you show up late, if you don't put in your heart,
you have to earn it.
Yeah, you have to earn it. But then again, for AMO, we vet you before you participate, right? So I would say nearly 100% of everyone that comes to AMO gets a personalized letter of recommendation. Now, for virtual, you're generally only going to earn 1 because you are working with 1 preceptor in a virtual clinical experience. For in-person, it just depends on the clinical site. So it's never guaranteed. The only kind of guarantee based on merit is you're going to get 1 letter of recommendation with the preceptor you're working with. But yes, we have had past visitors that have gotten multiple letters. It just kind of, if you go to a large teaching hospital.
It's not usual. It's not usual.
But if you go to a large teaching hospital, don't put in your minimum. Say, can I have extra hospital hours? Work 80 hours a week. I mean, we have an hour schedule on our platform for every program. That doesn't mean you can't have more hours, right?
That's the point. I would start like basically myself. I would start at 5 in the morning and I would leave at like midnight. And that's why like I've rotated with different like 3 or 4 physicians at the same time. Like smart. I was doing this like an extra work to like get to know all these attendings at the same time.
Basically showing them that you're interested.
Yes, that's the thing. But if you just want to like attend like 6 hours or 7 hours per day, then most of the time you're going to spend those amount of hours with 1 physician. Yeah. And hence you're going to get like 1 recommendation letter. I'm not saying that it is impossible, but it's demanding. If you want to get more than one recommendation letter, you have to work with more than one doctor, and it's demanding. It's not a kick and
Put in some extra effort.
yeah.
And it's not just about the letter. If you put in that extra effort, it's all about the network effect. The more doctors you know in the United States, the more chances they're going to refer you to apply to this residency spot, or, you know what, contact this person. You know, it's really about networking and who you know. And
So
AMO will give you that simple, easy access to kind of start your network building for your future. Ryan, can you just talk about discounts? And then I'm going to stop recording, but I'll stay on a little bit longer and answer a few more questions.
Yeah, definitely. No, thank you, Daniel. I think maybe before the discounts, we could talk about the groups, because I think that's a really important way to kind of earn, or I should say, a great way to save money. So coming with the group, you know, we do offer kind of group discounts, group package rates. So if you have a couple friends that do want to join, you know, we do have a discount rate of $100 per friend that joins. And then if you do have a group larger than 4, depending on the experiences you're selecting and the timing that you're looking to come, you know, we can look at some other discount packages so that, you know, it fits your budget and fits what you need. So we'll always be here to, you know, listen to, you know, what your group is looking for, where you would like to go. Maybe you want to do it even in virtual, and we can still set that up and you can save some money that way. You know, it's really nice when you come in person to come as a group. You know, larger cities are going to really be a great way to save some money in regard to housing, in regard to travel. Splitting housing is another way that you can save money. But, you know, for AMO, definitely bringing a group is a great way to kind of save some costs, save some money on the cost. So we do offer, you know, group discounts, group rates, and that's why it's always going to be very important to speak with an advisor, because, you know, the programs can be mixed and matched. You know, they all have different price points. You know, we want to find what's best for you and for your group. Now going into kind of more discounts, you know, with the discounts, we do offer monthly promotions. So we have monthly price drops. We may have a monthly sale. You know, unfortunately, we don't have much say over when those will happen. But as long as you're, you know, connected with Ta7, you're connected with AMO, you have an account with us, you will be the first to hear about that. You know, and if you see a discount that, you know, is very popular or is very enticing to you, you know, call an advisor right away, and we'll make sure that we can, you know, make sure to get you into that program and get you that discount. Daniel, thank you so much for pulling up the screen here. So you'll see right now we have, I believe, 8 or 9 different programs that we have currently price dropped. And I believe this price drop
10 programs this month. Yeah.
10 programs,
lowered by $300 each. So these happen every month. And you can search under the tag. It's called price drop. So yeah. And remember, you have to create your application. So you can create an application today. And then, I mean, if you want to wait until that program goes on price drop, you can do that. But yeah, just another way to search. But always just schedule a meeting with Ryan and his team, ask questions. It's not that we don't want to discount programs. We want to give the access. And we know some of you, you know, can't afford some things. That being said, the majority of the fees you're paying are going directly to a clinical site. I can assure you of that. So we don't have much room to kind of help with the price. Besides,
and Daniel,
yeah,
just 2 things I want to add is 2 other ways you can save is by doing multiple rotations yourself. So if you are looking to come for 1, 2, 3, 4 months, we can certainly provide some type of discount to make it work for you. You know, as we've been talking about throughout the presentation, it's very important to receive at least 2 letters of recommendation. So right away, you know, if you're looking to book 2 rotations, that is a great way to kind of start the process and, you know, see what discounts we can offer. Again, just speaking with an advisor, we will help you with that. And the other point I wanted to make, just, you know, again, with kind of the groups and the discounts, is the time sensitive nature of it. You know, yes, we offer price drop programs. Now those are randomized every month. So you might be waiting for a price drop, but it might not come. And there, you know, there could be the chance that someone else could take that before you reserve if you're waiting. So if you really know you want that rotation, and maybe you're like, oh, maybe it's going to be a price drop, I would say speak with an advisor. Let us look into some details. Let us see how many applications are on file. We want to be transparent. We also want to make it work for you. You know, so that's something I did want to bring up, is just the first come, first serve kind of aspect to the programs. Now, what's beautiful about our site, and, you know, as everyone experiences it, is when you select the month that you're in, we do provide how many seats are currently open. So that is a great way to kind of see, okay, is there 1 seat open? Is there that might help your own timeline. And again, speak with us as an advisor, and we can always help with that as well.
Yeah, it's really.
Oh, go ahead, Rod.
I'm sorry, Daniel. So I just wanted to say that, as Ryan is saying, it's really important for you as a medical student to keep in touch with your advisors or coaches, because they'll basically be your windows through which you can look into, whatever it is, like the state, the rotation, or whatsoever. They can help you with literally every single thing. Like my coach in my time helped me find, first of all, my advisor helped me choose my rotations, the state, and then my coach helped me about the accommodation, whether the public transportation was implemented, and like what even clothing shall I bring. Mine was Florida, so it was like, don't go like, with a lot of long sleeves and stuff, just like go all summer. So really, it's your duty to keep in touch with them, and really can help you with a lot of things.
Right. Can we take one more question before you close, before you stop recording? One more question.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, about the visa and the virtual rotations. I want to stress out like 2 points here. If you have a visa right now, you come in for rotations on B1, B2 visas. If you have a B1, B2 visa, you can apply for in-person rotations right now, and AMO can accommodate you for like the rotations that you want. The question is, if you do not have it right now, because of like there's a COVID factor, there's another factor that's pushing into the equation. The COVID factor, most of the embassies, especially in our country, in Egypt, the embassies are closed for regular visas, right? So you cannot have an interview. So I know personally people who have been trying to get an interview since last, I would say March or something. And if you cannot have a visa interview, you're not getting your visa. So that's why, instead of not doing anything, if you can wait, if time is not a factor, then you can wait until everything opens and then you can come. But if time is pushing in on your side, then you don't have any choice left but to do a virtual rotation. And it's going to be the same. I know that there will always be people who will always prefer in-person experiences. So if you have your own visa, then you're more than welcome to come, right? But if you don't have a visa, and instead of not doing anything, you could just do the virtual rotations. That's basically the whole virtual rotation thing. Nobody's discouraging you not to come in person. It's just a matter of like allocating your resources. If you don't have the visa, then instead of not doing anything, just do the virtual rotations.
And you don't want gaps. So, if you just graduated and you have a few months free before you, I don't know, do something in Egypt, join some program. You don't want any gaps, 0 gaps, not even 1 month. There was a question, do you have virtual research programs? Yes, we do. We have quite a few. Again, for research, it's very kind of particular. So although for many of our clinical experiences, you can create an account, create an application, and reserve all on your own, although we still suggest you, meet with an advisor, you don't have to. For research, we strongly suggest you meet with someone because, Ryan, I don't know if you want to add before I stop recording, but there's so much, what are your goals? What are you trying to accomplish before you do any reservations for research, Ryan?
Yeah, definitely. Dan, you said it perfectly there. What are your goals? What are you hoping to accomplish? In order for us to select that research opportunity for you, we will want to learn about that. A lot of times we ask that you maybe write a letter of intent or a statement of purpose. And what we can do then is find a suitable physician who we think can match your needs. And we do offer what we call a prepayment route, which allows us to essentially submit your resume, your documents, and that letter of intent to the physician. Ask the physician, hey, is this a research opportunity that you can provide? And if so, we can move forward with the reservation. In the case that maybe they are not able to, we can look for another option. And then with the prepayment, we have other ways of, with the prepayment, it allows it to be refunded if you decide, okay, you can't find that perfect program for me at this time because you haven't been locked into a reservation yet. And I know, I'm probably going into too much detail, but we can talk more about that one-on-one for those of you who are interested in research. But most importantly, definitely speak with an advisor if you're interested in research, and we'll make sure we can manage the expectations and make sure that we're transparent about what it could entail. And then again, the certainty, can the physician offer it?
I'd like to add about the prepayment. We have more and more programs now that are requiring prepayment. What this is, you know, a deposit is kind of usually around $699. And that's kind of the same for all of our programs. Yes, deposits are refundable for various reasons, but the prepayment is really because we have 170,000 medical students using our platform creating applications. We don't send all those applications to the hospital, only the ones that are qualified. So again, we're just qualifying you by a few things. Number one, your resume. Number two, your passport. Number three, either a dean's letter stating you're a current medical student in good standing or your diploma. And number four would be a prepayment. So why would we ask for payment? It's just to show that you're very serious. It's not that we can refund that right back to you if you don't get approved for the program. But we are requiring that more and more as we're seeing more and more applications to the programs than ever before. So that's just something I wanted to add. It's not that we're trying to take your money up front. It's just to reserve and know that you're serious. You probably will get approved if we're taking a prepayment, but in case you don't, that is fully refundable. Rad.
And Daniel, just to add to the prepayments, you know, we designed the prepayments about a year ago around this time because of COVID and because of the uncertainty, you know, in certain cities and with certain doctors, just, you know, being able to travel to the US. So, you know, we wanted to have this option so that, you know, we can make sure, okay, is this doctor hosting during COVID? Let's check in first before, you know, we lock you in. So that's kind of where this prepayment came from. And again, it's just a way for us to say, hey, we're not too sure, but we're going to make the ask for you, rather than saying, hey, we're confident and then, you know, running into some issues. We want to just be certain that what we can offer is what you need. And, you know, again, it's just about the transparency. And I tell visitors all the time, the last thing I want is for you to pay for a rotation that does not meet your needs. And that is why speaking with an advisor is so important. I've never been afraid to say that to someone because it's about you, it's about your experience, and that's why we're here to help you.
Yeah, so I was gonna say that, thanks a lot. So I was just gonna say that I got somehow overwhelmed about, you know, the number of documents AMO platform required and was asking for. So one of them was the dean's letterhead. I was like, what on earth is that? So my advisor was like, explain to me what is it about? And he actually provided me a template, because like in Saudi Arabia, it's like kind of hard to actually meet with your dean just like in a snap. At least you have to have like example 2 weeks appointment and whatsoever. It's like he's the president of the United States or something. So he gave
in
me
Egypt,
this.
it's easy, guys. In Egypt,
Okay,
this is
fine.
easy. Just,
Then
go
thumbs
شؤون
up.
الطلبة وشؤون الطلبة يحلوها معك.
Okay, awesome. Okay, but like for me, it was kind of, I was overwhelmed about this. So he was like, no, there's this template. You can just like email it to your dean or the secretary and then just get it, you know, filled in the necessary information and you're all set. So that was really so helpful. And it means like of contacting and keeping in touch with your advisor.
Right. You're muted, Daniel. So, because I have to leave right now, I just want to leave with a small note, because this is a main concern that people ask us also, which is like the emergency visas interviews. Applying for a rotation is not an emergency, right? So you're not, so you're going to be rejected. You're going to be declined. Your request to be interviewed as like an emergency is going to be declined because this is not an emergency. So again, with everything that we said, the recording, first of all, I would like to apologize for the technical difficulties and for the time difference confusion that happened in the beginning. And I really thank everybody for joining us, and especially the panelists, Daniel, as always, and Ryan, and Rad. Am I pronouncing your name right? Yes,
you're right. Absolutely.
Right. So
Thanks,
it was nice meeting you all, and thank you for everything. I really have to go right now, so I will leave you with them. It's not over yet. I will just leave you with them, and thanks everybody.
Thank you, Ahmed.
Thank you, Ahmed.
Absolutely.
So just to kind of finalize here, thank you on it. Again, for those of you that joined late because of the time change or whatever, really appreciate everyone's time. Rod, very always wonderful to have you on. Ryan as well. Daniel. Dr. Mesri, would you like to say hello and introduce yourself before we end the recording?
Hello, Daniel. Hello, Ryan. Sorry, I was in a course, so I come late. Sorry, I'm so sorry.
That's
But
okay.
I'm happy to see and hearing you.
Yeah, so great to see you, and thanks for working with us and for
nice to see
setting
you.
this up. For all the attendees, thank you so much for your time. I will send a summary email with lots of links, all the information that we talked about today, as well as the full recording. So if you had poor internet connection or came in and out, you can always watch the recording. Dr. Mesri, Rod, Ryan, any final words before we kind of end the webinar?
Yeah, just for those who maybe did come late to the recording, there was a great intro by one of our physicians, Dr. Lakowsky. I know I received a lot of questions about the virtual rotations and how the impact of the LOR. Please do watch the beginning of the recording to get more information about that. There's some really good information there. So once again, just wanted to stress that.
And also those, because I've seen some students are writing that they're just like the beginners. This would be really a very good thing for you to do, is to have your back covered by AMO, because this was like my very first time in the US, and it was like heck of a difference for me having my back covered. So everything went so smooth. I had my coach with me 24/7 and advisors, and I had all the support I needed actually. And thanks for that, guys.
You're welcome, Rod.
Okay, great, everyone. And we know lots of questions came in. If we didn't answer your question, you have Ryan's link to schedule a meeting. You have Rad's Instagram handle, and you can always reach out to Dr. Ta7 through their Facebook page or the contact information posted. Thank you all. Stay safe. Have a wonderful weekend, and really hope this information was helpful to your kind of medical education, your career goals. Whether you choose to participate in AMO or not, we really wish you the best on your journey to becoming a medical professional. Thank you, everybody.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Bye.